Jean-Charles, could you please tell us a little bit about current trends in the pesticide industry and consumption of pesticides and research and what policies are about to bring to the industries?
Okay, so what the general public call pesticides, in fact, are the crop protection products. They are products used by the farmers to protect their crop against disease, weeds, insects, so they can regulate their harvest and they can provide us as consumer affordable, safe food. So pesticides are a useful product which are used by the farmers to do their business.
What is a sophisticated pesticide, if there is a such thing at the moment?
In fact, our members are investing a lot in the research and development, average 10% of their turnover, for the development of new pesticides which are more and more targeted. That means controlling the pest, the disease, the weeds, and at the same time safer and safer vis-à-vis the consumer, vis-à-vis the farmer when he is applying the product, and also respecting the environment, because those products are used on crop, which is the environment. So what we can call pesticides are more and more sophisticated because they are more targeted, and hopefully they answer the public expectation in terms of selectivity.
So as pesticides are getting older as an industry, a lot more research and testing is being put into their production.
In fact, the development of pesticides came in the early 50s, where we were asking the farmers to grow more. So the research has been so effective that those early products have disappeared now because they have been overpassed by more modern product, more targeted, less persistent in the environment. So I think it's a continuous improvement process. And at the beginning we had a lot of chemical-based product, and more we are also developing more and more natural-based products. So we observe what is going on in the nature, the interaction between a disease and a plant. We isolate the mechanism, and we are able to synthesize and to make a product which will become a crop protection product thanks to what we learn from the nature. So it's really a long process. It takes an average of 10 years between the early discovery and placing the product on the market. It costs roughly $300 million to develop a product. We have to carry out a lot of studies to better know the potential effect on human being and on the environment.
What are the main concerns right now in the policy making for pesticides?
The policy makers are in fact under relatively high pressure of us as consumers, the public, because the public is more and more far from the farm. We don't know how we grow potato, we don't know how we grow sugar beet today to make sugar, and so this big distance between the perception and the reality, of course, make the policy makers changing the rules. And for pesticides, the regulation is one of the toughest, especially here in Europe, because it's more and more based on hazard rather than taking into account the real risk of the product. The risk being the consequences of not only the hazard, but also the exposure. It's like a car. You can have a very, very powerful car if you drive this car respecting the regulation, with the seat belt and everything, there is no risk. So, you know, you can have a relatively high potential effective pesticides. It has to be used according to the label recommendation, which are given by the authorities based on the work which is done before the registration.
And how different are modern pesticides from the first day of use of pesticides?
Okay, so in fact the first generation of pesticides were products used, generally speaking, in kilograms of active ingredients, the active ingredient being the substance who make the product active against the pest. and they have a broad spectrum. That means if we take an insecticide to kill or to control the insects, those products were controlling many pests, but also sometimes controlling and hurting or killing beneficial insects. So it has been a huge effort from our members to look for more targeted products which can control the pest but respect the beneficials and the insects such as ladybirds, bees, and everything. So, in fact, thanks to the knowledge of the science, the biology, the interaction between insects and plants, we have identified, or sometimes we have even cut and paste what is existing in the nature. For example, the Chinese in the whole good time, they use the dry flowers to put them on rice, and then those pyrethrum flowers, they were able to control the pest. So then they were trying to use those storage applications outside, but the light of the sun was in fact destroying rapidly the insecticidal property of the product. So then the chemists have been able to put some specific chemical substances on top of those natural flowers in order to allow them to be more persistent under the light and then to become a real insecticide. So this was, let's say, in the 60s, 70s. Now we are also able to isolate, for example, natural hormones from insects. So if we take some worms, to have a worm, you have to get the eggs. The eggs is the result of the sexual accouplement between the male and the female. And the female butterfly, they are emitting pheromones which attract the male. So we have been able to synthesize this pheromone. We put those pheromones in the field, and then the male are totally lost. They cannot find the female. So no eggs, no worms, no need to use an insecticide. So it's a kind of new biological control approach, which is used also, for example, in organic farming, where our members are also working, because we are here to develop solutions which will be used by the farmer to answer the different needs.
How far are organic pesticides from the conventional pesticides today?
The big difference between organic and conventional, in fact, farming and conventional pesticides is that the organic, most of the organic pesticides, because in organic production you have to use also product to control the pest, but in organic they are basically coming from either mineral application like the copper or the sulfur, or from non-chemical based, such as bacteria, viruses, champignons or mushrooms. You know, specific mushrooms can also control the disease of the plants. So there is a significant effort also now from our members to look for those new kind of solutions which will be used in the conventional farming, but more specifically also in the organic production farming.